Hey, merriment makers. Welcome back to another episode of the Merriment Making Podcast, where we explore happiness habits, self acceptance, and living a full life. I'm Mary England, and today I'm going to be your guide to embracing all of the beautiful contradictions within you. I also just wanted to say thank you for listening. In January, I got my recap from where I post my podcast and send it out, and there was a 91% increase in how many people were listening in January compared to December. So I really appreciate it. And if you want to leave a review or a comment or a rating or all those things or share it, it does make a difference. It really matters. And we need as many people who are happy as possible, feeling good and doing good in that circle and cycle of continuance. And I just thank you so much. So getting that out of the way of gratitude. Okay, today's episode is all about extending an olive branch to yourself. We've heard that phrase, and it can be anything. Olive branches are a little dull for my visual taste, so it can be anything that you want. But we're going to look at reconciling the different parts, the different sides of who you are, and how to not judge our contradictions, and as a result of that process, create more peace inside ourselves. Plus, I have a special visualization exercise for you, and I'll tell you how you can deepen this whole practice of self-acceptance with my free How to Be Your Own Valentine workshop. And I don't know, I think we think of peace as something that we make with other people. And I want you to consider that the most important peace treaty that you'll ever sign is going to be with yourself. So the parts of you that clash, that contradict, and confuse you are often the ones that need the most compassion. So today we're going to talk about how to bridge those gaps with love. Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. Walt Whitman. I love him so much. We are not just one thing. We are a collection of experiences, beliefs, desires, emotions, memories. And they're sometimes going to conflict with each other. And yet so many of us are trying to force ourselves into these neat little labels. I'm a this, I'm a that. Our Instagram bios even are just a list of labels. And they can be really helpful, right? Especially at the beginning when we find something, a group, an identity, a diagnosis. It's informative, it helps us find people, it helps us find medicine, it helps us find so many things. But things don't really fit into neat little boxes, especially a whole person. When we say, this is who I am, an identity, a label, it doesn't really always work out. And we end up feeling this cognitive dissonance because life is nuanced, babe. You are nuanced. Think about it. Like, you can be both responsible and playful, both confident and insecure, both introverted and extroverted at certain points. You can crave change and fear it at the same time. You can want autonomy and freedom and also want relationship. And it's okay, it's human, it's natural. And still we're told that to be consistent is to be stable, that we have to pick one side of ourselves and stick to it. But growth comes from being able to hold contradictions without needing to resolve them immediately. I think that intelligence and evolution personally comes from being able to hold two conflicting beliefs at the same time. And maybe they're not actually conflicting. Maybe they just are. You do not have to be the same person as you were yesterday or even this morning. You don't have to stick to a belief just because it used to make sense for you, or because your friends or family or community believe it. The challenge is not that these contradictions exist. It's that we've been taught to believe that they shouldn't. Instead of fighting the parts of us that don't really just fit neatly together, we're not a puzzle, We need to learn to listen to the parts of us that don't fit neatly together. What if we could extend this proverbial olive branch to the parts of us that feel at odds? Isn't that the parts of us that make us weird? We like to celebrate the parts of us that make us weird here, right? Embrace your weird, embrace the weirdo, embrace the unique unicorn. But yet the contradictions we still don't feel comfortable with. And I get the cognitive dissonance of it all, but still, this is what merriment making is all about. It's about seeing life through different lenses. That's even why in the Merriment Makers, I have all these different modules about how to celebrate self-love through celebrating, through play, through weird, through fun, through pleasure. So yeah, sometimes it's about play, sometimes it's about advocacy, sometimes it's about rest. Different seasons call for different tools, and all of them are available to you. When I first began understanding this concept in my own life, I think for real, it was when I was in cognitive behavioral therapy in my early 20s. I started to recognize the two big voices in my head at the time. And one was we'll call it the healthy Mary, the one that was a little more rational and grounded. And then the other one that was the OCD voice. That's why I was there. That one was shouting the stuff that felt crazy. It was like really running the show. It was exhausting. It was this battle in my brain. The OCD voice was super loud, super persistent, very convincing. It had a very convincing argument, needing to check things over and over, needing to avoid certain things, needing to not being able to turn around in a circle, needing to stand on every single crack, every single leaf, doing all of these random things that were taking up so much of the day, making me late to everything. And if I didn't do things, there were going to be all these consequences, and some of them I didn't even understand what they were. And it was just awful. I was a walking symptom. And even though I understood logically that these fears weren't real, the fear felt real. The anxiety was real. And I felt really stuck between those two parts of myself, like this rational thinker and the fearful, I don't even know how I would call it, like a protector part of myself, but I was definitely wanting to avoid the anxiety. And what was worse was that I was feeling the ability to notice the distinctions between these two things. Like, I would have the feeling of, go touch that. And I'd be like, I don't think that makes any sense. Why would I do that? You know, it's like they say you can't tell if you're crazy because you're just in it. But I could tell that I was crazy. That was what was making me feel even more crazy, because I could notice that I was. So anyway, through the process of acknowledging all of this stuff and going to therapy, specifically for that, I realized something that would stick with me for the rest of my life. It's that you don't silence fear by ignoring it. Avoidance doesn't work for anything. You quiet fear by acknowledging it, by sitting with it, by showing it that it doesn't have to scream to be heard. And that's really the heart of any kind of exposure, or exposure therapy, or CBT, or whatever. You face the fear on purpose. And in doing that, you're teaching your brain that you can handle discomfort, that it's not that bad behind this curtain or this room that you've kept locked. You've built it up in your head. And it's not that it's not hard. I cried and screamed and had panic attacks for 6 months straight during that process. But after that, it just got easier because I built a threshold of being able to do it. And still, stuff sucks. There's some stuff that I couldn't shake, and I still haven't been able to shake from that. Like, I still freak out about microwaves. I just do. I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to deal with it, like, fully. And I still have other anxieties that pop up in life. And maybe it's worse than, like, a random other average person. And I still have an inner critic that still whispers sometimes, and some days it's very loud. But now I understand how to hear it and talk back and not let it take over. I know how to calm myself down during a panic attack without even taking medicine. Anyway, that's what we're doing essentially with these conflicting parts of ourselves, right? This contradiction, whether it's with anxiety or inner critics, or even just the parts of us that want different things, or even the parts of you that disagree with other people in your family or your friends or your community that you feel like you're supposed to believe too. That's another way to have this dissonance. Let's do a little exercise together. A moment of merriment to bring peace to these parts of ourselves. So if you're not driving, find a comfortable spot, and if you can, close your eyes. And let's take a deep breath in through our nose, hold it at the top for a moment, and let it out slowly through your mouth. Do that again. Deep breath in and out. And now I want you to think about the two parts of yourself. I know there's probably a lot, but just pick two for now if you can, that often feel at odds. Whatever comes to you first is right. It could be the part of you that wants to rest, the part of you that feels like it should be productive. It could be the side of you that craves connection, or the part that wants vulnerability. Whatever it is, bring these two sides of you to mind. What do they look like? Are they dressed differently? Are they different ages? Do they have different demeanors, different facial expressions? See them as people, energies, animals. How are they representing? If you haven't created a space for them, picture a garden, a beautiful, colorful garden, and position them in a way so that they are seeing each other. Make them aware of each other now. Are they glaring at each other? Are they upset? Has their body language changed? Are their arms crossed? Are they unsure of each other? Are they wanting to go further away? Are they keeping their distance? And now I want you to walk them towards each other. And it's okay if they're feeling a little resistance. They don't have to go very far. They're just parts of you. They don't have to go all the way, just a little bit closer. That's good. And now I want you to imagine you as yourself as you are today to enter into the scene. And you're going to go up to the one that's on the right. And you're going to walk up. And you're going to look them in the eyes. And you're going to acknowledge them. And you're going to say to them, I see you. I hear you. And you matter. And then fill in this space with anything else you want to say to this part of you. Something that they haven't heard, maybe some gratitude. And now I want you to walk over to the other part of you on the left and meet them where they are and look them in the eyes, acknowledge them and say, I see you, I hear you, you matter. And notice how they respond and fill in the space with anything else you'd like to say to this part. Any sort of appreciation or things you want to say. Now, I want you to magically pull out what you're going to extend to each of them as a gift. It could be an olive branch. It could be a colorful flower, a balloon, a lollipop, a piece of cornbread. Maybe they both need different offerings. The point is that it's coming with a side of peace. Let them know that they don't have to fight for your attention or your love. They both have room in your heart, in your world. There is room in this town for both of them. And give them their offerings. Extend an olive branch. Maybe literally, maybe it's a piece of cornbread. It's okay. What do they want? And as they take the olive branches or cornbread, watch as they can step closer to each other. Encourage them to engage. Maybe they shake hands, they high five, they hug. Or maybe they just get closer and you feel the tension ease. And they can sit together or walk away together in quiet understanding. But the tension is melting away as you find these parts of you existing in harmony. And you're all there in the garden together. Take a deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, open your eyes and bring yourself back to the present moment. How did that feel? That's just an example of self-compassion. The ability to, when they say hold space, it just means thinking about it, not judging for all parts of yourself. And you could do that with other parts that came up for you. And if you're not someone that can visualize, you could do that and write it out. Write out the facts for yourself. So one of the biggest barriers to self-acceptance is expectations. What we think we should be, how we think we should act. And I want you to challenge yourself just for today to allow yourself to contradict your current expected persona. So if you're always the responsible one, I want you to allow yourself to be a little reckless. If you're always the loud, funny one, give yourself some quiet. If you're always the one who gives, try receiving. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was always so loud and laughing, and a lot of it was natural, but sometimes I've literally been kicked out of parties. People have asked me to leave because if I were to get drunk or high, I would just kind of have a neutral face and not be engaged. And my neutral face is very sad looking. And people have resting angry face, and I have a resting sad face. And I've been asked to leave parties because the juxtaposition of how I quote unquote normally am, of being very happy and looking sad, made people uncomfortable. And I think that that's something that feels like a lot of pressure, when you realize as soon as you leave that expected persona and other people feel something, it's why does this matter? And then you realize that you're supposed to stay there. And it's there are no supposed tos. So I want you to challenge yourself to contradict that little by little so that you don't end up needing to overcorrect a boundary really hard. You contain multitudes. You do not have to be one thing forever, and you definitely don't have to meet anyone's expectations, not even your own. And if you've ever felt like you had to hide parts of yourself to be accepted, I want you to repeat this after me. Even though I've been told it's safe to hide parts of myself, I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. Let's say it again, louder this time. Let it sink in. Even though I've been told it's safer to hide parts of myself, I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. And we have a whole authenticity module in the Merriment Makers, and it's quite good and focuses on this. The practice of making peace with yourself is not a one-time thing. It's a daily commitment, daily self-love, happiness habits. And if you want to take this even further, I would love for you to come check out my free How to Be Your Own Valentine workshop. It's all about deepening your self-connection and learning to truly nurture yourself in a way that feels good and loving yourself unconditionally. It's a good challenge, right? You'll learn to celebrate yourself, how to listen to the different parts of you, and how to build a relationship with yourself that feels like coming home. Because at the end of the day, that's the real point of all of this, how to feel good in your body, right? How to feel at home in yourself, to believe that you are worthy of your own love. And also there's EFT tapping for unconditional self-love, heart chakra activation, journaling prompts, 50 solo date ideas, 50 ways to reignite romance, 50 ways to celebrate being single, 50 ways to mend a broken heart, a DIY tutorial. There's a bunch of cool stuff, and it's all free. So you can get that. I'll put the link in the show notes, but uncustomary.org/Valentine workshop. And thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you walk away from this episode feeling a little softer towards yourself, a little more accepting of your contradictions, and a little more at peace. If this resonated with you, let me know, leave a review, share it on social, or tag me on Instagram at merrimentmaker. And thank you so much for listening. Like I said, up 91%. That's so great. Until next time, remember, you have to feel good to do good. I'll see you soon, Merriment Makers.